we are. Oh. Ah, your sound just went quiet because you're quiet. Okay. Not seeing if anybody watches. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the HopCast. I'm Adam Steele. This is Ivy. Say hello. And that's Chris. And we are live. What have we got to talk about today, Chris? Pop quiz. Can you still let me out there?
Yeah, it was alright. My audio went, hi.
Alright, okay, that's a bit weird. But yeah, okay. The internet can totally see us now, apparently. Yeah. So this
Awesome.
this little potato is the reason that it's been a while since the last HopCast. Last time we did this, she didn't exist, or at least not as a single entity. So yeah, this is my little baby girl, and this little potato. Smile. She only smiles when she wants to fart. Yeah.
To be fair, that's fair.
Yeah. Oh, one of our regular viewers, Greg, says congratulations. Thanks, Greg. Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, we've got a few things to talk about today. It's been 5 weeks since the last HopCast, so we're a little overdue.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got a few things. Apparently, Henry Juskovich from Gibson reckons that the quality control issues are fake news, which I can very much attest to that being not true.
How can you even state that it's fake news when we get the products?
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, let's look at that news article first. Let's switch to capture. There we are. And we'll look at, yeah, so according to GuitarWorld.com, and Henry talking to Guitarist Magazine, yeah, to quote some politicians, never a good start. I would say that's fake news. Yeah, never ever ever quote politicians. That's never going to end well.
No.
But yeah, it's easy for people to troll on the internet, blah 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 blah. But what's really going on is that we, oh yeah, she's not really interested in guitar news just yet. She's a little young for that. But yeah, let's
give her time.
We've played 2016, 2017, 2018 Les Pauls and that other Gibson guitars, and some of them are fine, some of them are not.
Yeah.
And yeah,
exactly. It's like we said, it's not something that's up for debate if the quality isn't there or not. If I'm getting the product and it's not up to scratch, I physically have the proof. And you know, a lot of these guys on a lot of forums, they're showing pictures of the damage, and we're seeing fret tangs that are dire, headstock damage. We're seeing body damage before they've even had a chance to play them. How can you say quality control is there when it evidently isn't?
I suppose
maybe they should have said it was not up to scratch. I think that's fairer.
Yeah, and if it was say it was the Epiphone range and the quality control wasn't great, it's a price point. You get a bit of that, but when you're paying for a USA Gibson, you're paying more for them to take the time. That's exactly what you pay that money for.
That's what you're told.
Yeah.
That's what you're told for.
Well, that's the idea.
But,
yeah. So that's...
I know. It feels like a very much an old man that doesn't understand the internet kind of feel. It's like, no, there's pictures. We see things now. We actually get to see it. It's not, oh, this guy I've heard's got this, and his is really bad. No, we actually get the proof now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's frightening when the CEO of a company, much like the president of a country, says one thing isn't happening.
Hey, we're British. We don't comment on that.
Hey, I didn't say anything about any particular country in particular. I could be talking about Colombia. Maybe not. But yes.
Yeah, not the best choice.
Let's brush on politics and then move quickly away. But yes. Yeah, when someone who's the leader of a large organisation, shall we say, says everything is fine and everybody knows it's not going to be long before that leader of that organisation goes elsewhere.
this falls into very much like a burying the head in the sand. I think this is kind of, I'm seeing where the cracks were, minus on the guitars, in Gibson's business now. I'm starting to see a CEO that doesn't really get it, and they've not moved with the times. Not even just in the models, just in the whole business procedure. They really need to sit down and explain internet.
Yeah, I think over the past 15, 20 years, they've literally just gone, let's do this, it'll be great. Let's do that, it'll be great. And the forecast guys and the analysts have gone, excuse me, sir, I don't think that's going to work out. And he's gone, it'll be great. And you know, that's what spelled doom for them so far. Yeah,
the most innovative thing they've done in the last 15 years I can think of would probably be the Gibson Robot. Execution wasn't great, but the concept was good. Yeah. So I'd give them the dues. When they want to be innovative, Gibson can do it.
Yeah.
They can actually do it.
Gibson guitars can probably pull it back. Gibson music. Bless you.
Yeah.
Gibson music's kind of in trouble. So as long as they compare it back to being mostly Gibson guitars again, I think they'll do okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is where the focus needs to be. I mean, you can't say your quality control's there when you're posting pictures of your new models with cracks visible
on the floor, on the show model. Yeah, absolutely. That was last time, wasn't it, that we saw that? That was ridiculous. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I ripped into them then, but you know, it is just, they really need to rethink what they're doing. Otherwise, it's not gotta be a thing anymore.
Yeah. Well,
simple as.
Let's move on from the negative news to something that's a bit more positive before we go back to the negative news. Reaper, which, as everybody watching will probably know, is kind of my jam. It's my go-to DAW. Has a new version out.
Been for mine for a few years.
Absolutely. There's the new version 5.93 is out for Windows, OS X, and Linux. Now the Linux is a new thing. Because up till now, if you wanted to do that, you needed to run it as... Yeah, alright, okay. Let's pass you over to Mummy. There we go. Oh, got it? Yeah, so, you would run the Windows version of Reaper on Linux using Wine. And now it's still experimental, I would imagine, because we're on 5.9 something. We're waiting for version 6 to come out. That's going to be fairly inevitable. But, so they've classed this as experimental. But for a lot of people who've been wanting to move away from Windows but don't really want to be sold on the far overpriced Mac world, companies are moving more and more towards Linux. I mean, Linus Tech Tips, another channel that I follow, 7 million subscribers or something like that. They're pretty big. What's that saying on there? There's not an internet connection problem. Go away. It's fine. It's trying to tell us there's a connection problem, but I can see and hear you perfectly fine. A lot of games are now being developed for Linux as well as Windows and OS X, because it's not, for a lot of these programs now, the way they're made for Windows 10, it's not much of a stretch to go build for Linux. Click. I mean, it's not quite. Yeah. It's not that simple, but it's more. More simple than it used to be, where you would have to completely rewrite everything for a different platform. The way that games and programs and software are generally made now is they're all made in kind of modules and blocks, and when you've done everything, you just hit compile, and it makes it for a set version. That's how you get 32-bit this, 64-bit that. The programmers don't make 2 or 3 versions of the same program. They make one, and at the end of it, they hit go. And that's how here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 versions of Reaper, and they all come from the same source. Of course, there are things, say, on OS X, you've got audio units.
And they're all compatible.
Yes, absolutely. That's really interesting for me with Reaper, that I send Chris a Reaper project. He's on Mac, he's on OS X, I'm on Windows. It works. Some of the plugins
Yeah.
get a bit shirty with you sometimes, but that's very much because of the plugin manufacturers not necessarily keeping up with cross-compatibility, but as a project, it just works, and always has done.
Yeah, I mean, we got the lion's share across,
Mm.
so
which is more than can be said for a lot of Pro Tools.
That's pretty phenomenal in itself.
Yeah,
that we get that much going.
absolutely.
So, are we seeing the line blur even more? Like with Linux coming more forward, Windows is obviously Windows, OS X is always it is what it is.
Yeah,
Linux is not necessarily being the big boy, but it's not so much the black sheep anymore.
no, that's true.
I think we're kind of. It's not like oh well, that's only for those guys that mess with computers, and that's those guys who use Linux. No, Linux is quite a viable thing now.
Yeah, it's a lot less scary than it used to be. Like, it's funny, over the last few years of working with Chris and doing a lot of the media stuff that we do, I had to learn how to use Linux on a command line, basically all the text-based stuff, and it's terrifying at first. But if you're not using it for running a server, if you're just using it as a basic kind of thing, it's actually kind of easy now. It's Windows-ish, but it doesn't crash.
Yeah.
Wait, if that's really that's what you want out of a system you're going to run your audio workstation on, right? It just
absolutely.
doesn't.
I mean, especially if it's just your audio workstation, you want to strip out as much crap as possible.
That's the thing with a lot of versions of Linux. You don't have to pay for it. It's rock solid. There's no Siri or Cortana or any of that crap unless you install it and ask for it. I'm sure there are there are equivalents of that if you want them, but my baby's screaming blue murder behind me. I don't know if you can hear, but she just wants feeding. She's being looked after.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. But the thing that interests me is if you look here, there's the 686 version, that's 32-bit Linux. There's a 64-bit Linux.
Right. Okay.
And there's ARM v7L, otherwise known as
Raspberry. I'm not even going to pretend I know what that means.
Otherwise known as Raspberry Pi.
Oh, okay.
So, and there are a few other machines that run on that same system as well, but Raspberry Pi is the really well-known one. And that means that if I get a Raspberry Pi and run the Raspbian Linux on it, which is, again, free, I can have Reaper up and running there. And that's something I'm going to make a video on. I've decided because of this release, I'm going to buy a Raspberry Pi 3. The top of the range one is £35. That's not expensive. So for that, go on.
I was just thinking, like, how cheap can you make a rig now?
That's it.
Like, you take a Raspberry Pi and what? I'm just because I've got one. Well, the same brand in front of me, a Focusrite Solo.
Yeah. And, well, that's the thing. Like, I'm sure most audio interfaces will work on Linux. I'm going to have to do a bit of research as to whether the low latency drivers are there. That's the thing. But if the low latency is there, which I think Jack is what you use instead of ACO on Linux, and I'm fairly sure that's quite decent quality at this point. And so... it's 35 quid for a Raspberry Pi. They're silent, so you can have it in the same room as what you're recording. If you've got a screen that you've borrowed from somebody or a TV, anything that's HDMI, you don't need to buy a monitor. If you can go to your local shop and get a keyboard and mouse for £5, maybe 10.
And go charity shop, cash generator, or anything like that, you'll find something.
Absolutely. If you live in a country where everything is expensive, and there are countries like that, you can still get a keyboard and mouse that are USB because everybody has them. Everybody has USB keyboard and mouse. So for a budget of £50 maximum, you can have a rig up and running. And if you can then spend any more money that you get on a better quality interface rather than on the machine that you need to record.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for up and starters is a good way to keep the overheads because it is a big jump in. Like if you're kind of interested in doing music production, and you go, well, I need I need a good laptop. Okay. Well, I need a good sound card. Okay. Well, I need a good mic. Okay. Well, I need speakers and I need this. And you kind of go, by the end of it, you kind of go, good God, how much have I spent? And what do I really have?
Yes.
A slight interest.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I know a lot of people, especially in the UK and probably the US as well, will get like a hand-me-down laptop from family members or friends, whoever. A lot of countries, like South American countries, possibly African countries, Eastern European countries, Eastern Bloc, they may not be easily available. But if you can get something like this that's way cheaper than even a used laptop, and probably much more powerful, because the latest Raspberry Pi is damn fast. It's got a quad-core processor on this thing that's 1.4 gigahertz, and it's £35 for the whole thing. That's fast.
Yeah. How can you knock something like that? Okay, it may not be the quickest. It may not have, but for starting.
Yeah.
And especially if you like tie it in with some of our things, Joe, we've done for like free plugins. They might not all be Linux friendly, granted, but you tie that all together, you've got a pretty good start.
Yeah, I did a bit of cursory research, and you can run Windows VSTs with a kind of a wrapper on Linux.
Okay, yeah.
So if we get something like that MT power kit, those power drums, that VST instrument, that was free.
Hey, I still use that.
Yeah, works perfectly well, and is completely free. And if you run, because the Raspberry Pi 3 has got 4 USB sockets on it, so you could run an external hard drive for all your storage, or run it off the SD card. I think it's micro SD. I mean, I've got a 16 gig SD card here, and they're what, 5-10 quid. They've gone way down in price. You don't need a super fast one unless you're talking about doing high level production. But even then, they're not particularly expensive.
See, that was gotta be my one thing to ask about, is gotta be writing speed. But if the SD card can keep up with the writing speed, there's really no reason not to.
Well, yeah, audio doesn't take up that much space on a second-to-second basis.
Right.
Let me just work this out. The calculator. So let's say you're at 48K, 24-bit times 60 seconds.
Okay, yeah.
That's a number. No, that can't be. No. Because it's all in bits.
So
it was something like it's just over a megabit. Yeah, so 48K times 24-bit is 1.1 megabit per second.
Yeah.
Which is really not very fast at all. If you divide that by 8, oh no, not times, divided by 8, that's 144 kilobytes a second. Considering that even
that's relatively small.
Cheap SD cards go at 10 megabytes a second.
Yeah.
That's the cheap ones.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah. So if I was to times this by 10, I guess, that'd be 1. So I could run 20 tracks and have plenty of headroom. I could run 30 tracks and have some headroom on an SD card.
Yeah.
It's not like recording video where you've got massive bit rates and ridiculous file sizes. Like the main camera that I use, the Blackmagic 4K, if you're recording in 4K, it runs on SSDs, and you need an SSD because it's something like 800 megabits per second. That's
yeah. Yeah, I remember we had to play with that, didn't we? Going back a while, when we used to work a bit closer, and we got, I think it was a 500 gig hard drive, the SSD.
Yeah.
If you recorded the Blackmagic at full settings, I think we got like 9 minutes.
Oh, that's in RAW, but that's ridiculous. If you I worked out with a 256 gig solid state drive in it. If you ran it at 4K in ProRes, it would run for an hour. That was it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, in RAW it was ridiculous. It was like 13 minutes or something stupid. But yeah, at some point in the future, I'm thinking of completely switching away from that camera anyway. I'm thinking of getting either a GH4 or a GH5, depending on what I can afford and get.
Okay, well...
Probably a GH4.
I think for what you're doing and the style videos we do, why not?
If I'm looking at a GH4, it'll do 24 frame a second 4K, way smaller file sizes. It's a really nice looking image that comes off the lens, but more importantly for me, I can send clean 1080 out of the HDMI socket.
Oh, so you're thinking that into like an Atomos Ninja or just into your laptop or anything?
Both. Either use it into an Atomos for the high quality stuff, or use it on its own for normal everyday small file size stuff, and use it for these live kind of videos with a super nice 1080p super crisp clean output that's proper DSLR quality. Some of the channels that I watch, there's one, Paul's Hardware. His videos look great, but they do a live one every week, and it looks exactly like his produced videos because it doesn't need an LUT because it just looks great. It's 1080p clean out. In fact, I think he's upgraded to a GH5 and gets 4K clean out.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's really nice. And like I say, it doesn't need grading. It's just ready, and it's got that whole depth of field thing, and I think it's got like autofocus, continuous autofocus, which I'm thinking about doing more vlogging kind of stuff. And
perfect.
Having that way, you just move the camera a bit and it doesn't suddenly just become a blurry mess. That's the next thing I'm going to be looking at. That's the thing. Most of the cameras that we've got, they'll make you a great image, but they're a generation behind now where they don't do things like continuous autofocus, and the ISO is not particularly amazing on them. Yeah.
No, I remember. I think we're going back to that kind of, well, not going back, maybe going forward is better term for it, into this whole one-man band kind of style video shooting.
Yeah.
Production teams aren't as common because so many people are producing themselves now.
Yeah.
Cameras that you can just rely on and they're going to be great, look great, and are reliable.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
It's quicker turnover.
Yes, that's the other thing. And smaller file sizes I'm trying to get. Because as much as it is great with a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, some of the cameras that we've got, either the file sizes are huge or the bit rate's not great. It's a balancing act at the moment. And without spending too much money, I want to get something that's next level up. And I want to have kind of my own personal set of lenses as well, which I'm looking at Micro Four Third.
Okay.
You can get decent Micro Four Third lenses now.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's something that never used to be there. It used to be if you wanted decent lenses, you got Canon EF lenses and an adapter. Yeah. But then if you get the adapter, there's nothing auto there anymore unless you get a proper speed.
Yeah, everything shifts a little bit as well.
Unless you get a speed booster, and the speed boosters cost £500-600. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's never gonna replace having one that fits.
Yeah,
it's never gonna replace it.
Absolutely.
You have the best adapter in the world, but unless you make it as thin as paper, it's never gonna be the same. It just isn't. But anyway.
Here's our next news topic. The Slate Digital FGA. Yeah. That got announced.
Yeah.
I've downloaded it and installed it. I've not had a chance to actually use it yet.
I literally just got the email before we came on the air.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, goddamn.
Apparently, the main feature, apart from it being an API EQ, which is awesome, is this button that says OpAmp, which apparently makes it sound like the real FGA, but you can turn it off so you can have it to be fairly neutral.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. From what I'm gathering, the reason an API EQ sounds unique is it's got all these transformers and op-amps and stuff before the EQ, after the EQ, and in between every stage of the EQ. Which means, let's say you really crank the mids, the low mids, that'll then saturate the high mids.
I was going to say, that style would bleed, like, a little bit over.
Yeah.
But not in, like, bleed negatively. As like you said, it'll just touch on the ends.
It's hard to describe, but yeah, it's that. It's that kind of... Yeah, you can bypass the non-linear behaviour if you want it to be more surgical. That is brilliant, I think, because that means that, say you want a really surgical EQ just for a little something, you can turn the coolness off and just have... in that odd... I mean, I would usually have all the analog, all the mojo, all that kind of stuff. That's my jam, but there'll be the odd time when, you know...
Well, I think it's good. Oh, yeah. I think it's a good idea having the option of the surgical stuff. But particularly for me, I'm just thinking the EQ and guitars. I want that nice saturation that kind of bleeds over, but I'm always scared of that 4.5K hiss. We used to call it like that tube screamer hiss.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah, that could just pick out a little bit. I don't want to open another EQ that's got to be my surgical, where's the bastard thing, or anything like that. So if I can do it while I'm still in the same plugin, and it'll probably play nicer and probably sound much more organic this way.
Yeah.
Use it just within the one. Yeah, I'm totally down. I think that's great.
Yes. Oh, that's interesting. The EQ on the FGA, it's fixed frequency and fixed gain. I think it's like click knob. Which would be really... be really good in like a mastering setting, because if you went like, it's 2 dB of this, 4 dB of that, it's not 2.5, it's not 2 and a bit, it's not 1.5, it's click. But it does say if you hold a modifier,
it's
probably
not like
shift.
It's not a 12:15 kind of job here, Joe. Like, you know, we have 3 o'clock, 12 o'clock,
Yeah.
And it's kind of 7 minutes past from 4, but I'm not too sure. No.
Yeah. Apparently, if you hold down a modifier, probably Control or Shift or something, you can have it continuous if you really want.
Yeah.
But
again, I think that's the more flexibility. You know, that's what we get from Slate. We always get flexibility with all these plugins.
Yeah. And the original was low, mid, and high. So they've put 2 mids in, 2 identical mids, so that you can have a bit more control. Like you were saying.
Low mids and high mids.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
And there's low frequency and high frequency switches. I'm guessing they're just filters. I've never actually used an API in the flesh. I've used real Neves once or twice, and I've used SSLs a fair bit. But being English, being British, API is not really a deal here. API, if I remember rightly, in API stands for American. I might be wrong on that. My memory fails me, but
I think so.
Yeah. So there's a video about it and all sorts of stuff. I don't want to play it and get a copyright strike, but yeah, there it is. There's something that literally came out today. Right.
So we'll get a demo of that soon, I'm sure.
Absolutely. As soon as I get a minute to breathe, that is going up. You'll
never breathe again as a new dad.
Yeah, tell me about it.
It's just not a thing.
This is my second live stream today.
So productive.
Well, I'm trying. This is the only day that I've got. It's literally like, do a live stream, feed Mickey and the baby, do another live stream, hit render on something, go and look after the baby, try and sleep, repeat, die slowly, scream, repeat. Yes, that's... yeah.
Alright, fair enough.
Well, I spent the first couple of weeks of Ivy's life.
Months?
Yeah, I know, tell me about it. It's all... Yeah. Couple of weeks. basically just at beck and call of the baby. And as fine as that was, time just dissolved away and just melted.
You have no concept of it.
Yeah, tell me about it. So I'm trying to get back to work, really.
You know that feeling when you come out of the cinema and the time of day's changed?
Yeah.
It's that for, like, your life.
It feels like when you're in winter and you go to work early and it's still dark and you come out and it's dark again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Groundhog Day a little bit. I mean, it's good. Baby's doing well, but just tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to using FGA. So, because it's been quite a while.
Where are you going to use this? Where are you using this?
Don't know. That's an interesting. I think I'm gonna use it on probably drums mostly. From what I hear, API stuff really has a great crack and a fatness and a thump that affects drums really well. So
do you think that's because of like the saturation bleeding over into other parts of the kit because you'll cover pretty much all the frequencies?
More than likely. I would imagine it's because, a lot of guys with API desks, from what I hear, the API preamps have quite a lot of gain innately, which means that they're already driving the EQ circuitry and everything. So all the saturation that happens in between each stage is already happening. So, yeah, it wouldn't take much for, one frequency band to really affect the next. So that's from what I have heard, and I'm going to give it a go on pretty much everything, because that's what I do. And I'll see where it comes out, because I know that like on the top end, I generally like a Neve top end, because it does a gentle thing. In the mids, I'm not sure, but I try not to EQ mids if I can. I generally end up EQing them anyway, but...
Okay.
SSL mids is very accurate, very surgical, and the Neve one is much more kind of sweetened and forgiving. So if you need a bit of the mids, I tend to use the Neve one. If you've got a really nasty frequency or you want to really get something specific out, I've been using the SSL one. But as for this one,
I find it interesting that you say you don't touch the mids.
If I can help it. I mean, I'm more and more going back to the old adage that our old mentor Mark Minor used to say: the best EQ is no EQ. I mean, I never used to get what he meant, because I was like, no, this sounds like crap, I better EQ it. I mean, it shows what you know. But but what I've really found is that, if I'm getting the tone right, say on the amp and the mic position and everything, the mid is the bit that's kind of sacred. So
because I just figured you got a lot going on there, especially with the tones we particularly like. Drums, guitar, arguably some bass, in there as well.
Yeah.
And then vocals. There's a big party going on in the mids. So I find it interesting that you don't try to EQ it. Is it more just the balancing act?
Yeah, pretty much. It is the kind of thing where the more and more I get used to how I want each individual instrument to sound, the more I try and get it to sound like that before using an EQ.
Oh, okay.
So that
rather than like completely keep scooping the mids or whatever, you kind of go, well, I just won't put it there in the first place.
Exactly, yeah. I mean,
I get you.
If it's a sound like, say, you've got a second or third layer of guitars and you need to scoop the mids out, I won't even hesitate. I'll do that. That's cool. But say the main instruments are the ones I'm trying to do the least EQing on. Like with vocals, I've found that picking the right mic makes as much difference as an EQ.
Yeah.
Like I've been using the Aston Origin on vocals recently, and I don't think I've touched the mids once on any of the vocal stuff. Yeah. Like, if I want more airy high end or like a bit more or less low end, I'm not afraid to play about with them a little bit. But yeah, if I can not touch the mids, that's what I'd rather do. I mean, like, I've not suddenly become afraid of EQing things.
No.
if something needs it,
Yeah,
I'll crank that knob.
I think that's interesting. Rather than, it's almost like instead of using the same preset that you know how to, that will fix it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, let's actually fix what's causing this issue before I even get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think there's a good mentality in that, rather than going, man, I just keep having to take out this mids. I keep having to take out these low mids. It's the idea that you've gone, you know what? Let's just not have them. Let it just not be a thing.
Absolutely. I'm finding more and more as well that since I've got SonarWorks, I don't know if I told you about the SonarWorks stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since I've got,
we did it last month.
Right. That must have just got hold of it then. Yeah. But the more and more I use it, the more I'm hearing things accurately. The more I'm realizing where I could have made a better tone on things. So now when I'm like reamping or whatever, I'm not fighting myself. Like I used to subconsciously, like, say I was reamping a guitar amp, I would have more mids, more treble, more this, and then be fighting it afterwards. So now I'm finding I'm getting a much better balance. I'm getting better tones coming through. Because the other thing is with EQ, it messes around with phase. The more that you have to EQ, the more it can do weird stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And quite a lot of the time you get away with it absolutely fine, but every now and again that phase fights with stuff, and it's... Yeah. And I'm more than anything, I suppose I've always been a big user of compression. And now I'm getting into using more saturation as well, and they can really do a lot. Did a plugin demo last week for Kazrog's new True Iron plugin, which is a transformer saturation thing. I love that so much, and especially what it did to the mids. It could fatten up the mids and bring something out without me having to EQ it. And if I didn't want the mids to be that thick, I could just not drive the transformer as much. That seemed to work quite well. Yeah. Also, I'm generally speaking compressing things a little bit less than I used to. I'm not compressing stuff. So I love compression.
Is that more in favor of saturation rather than?
Yeah, I think so. Is your mic okay? Is your connection a bit weird? It suddenly sounds like a bag of Rice Krispies. Yeah. But yeah, I am finding, like, since I got FG Stress and that kind of thing, I'm using the saturation in there more and using a touch less compression. I still like things like vocals heavily compressed, but I was finding I was over compressing so much that, like, the mids would sound quite congested, where now I'm just backing it off a little and I'm just getting a bit more clarity out of it. Yeah, it's subtle. It's just things that add up. You know, when you've got 40 or 50 tracks in a mix and you do 1% on each one, that can be a 50% change. It's that kind of mentality. And that's really really helped me. Your volume dropped off again.
Oh, maybe a little.
I think you might need a new XLR cable if you've got one part going there. You should talk to my friends at Rain Custom Audio.
We do product placements now.
Well, I'm considering it. Let's have a look on Finstagram, see if I can find. Can you do that?
Okay.
Go on.
I've got one to add in that we need to talk about. Not product placement, at news.
Right.
If you want.
Oh, there we go. Can you see that?
Why you load up cables?
That massive pile. That is all the wiring for the pedal board for the 2 Notes videos.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah. So I think I'm still waiting on 2 pedals from Stone Deaf. I'm gonna have to chase that up. But otherwise, everything. Those cables are gonna arrive here tomorrow, so that's gonna be ready to film very shortly. So we're going to start filming for the 2 Notes Preamp videos. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
many videos to film. I think it was 13 videos at the last count. But yeah. Anyway, news. Sorry, you were saying.
Okay. Have you seen the Joey Sturgis Misha Mansour collaboration?
Yes. Joey Sturgis.
Misha Mansour via VST.
I've heard about this. What's it called? Is it Guilty Pleasure?
I can't remember what it's exactly called.
No, it's not Guilty Pleasure.
Been out a while.
Yeah, no, it's not that one.
It's available for pre-order now.
Okay,
I know that much. Top of my head.
Is it even on the website? Because it's part of the Tone Forge series, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it.
Oh, that's.
Should be.
Can you get demos of his stuff?
No. Now this is where it gets interesting. So the pre-order's available. They're not doing a demo.
Yeah.
Like there's no or anything like that. I don't know what amp it's based off. I would presume it would be the PV Invective. Invective? Can never pronounce.
Yeah. So basically 5150.
Yeah. But what I also found interesting in it was that we're actually part of your Google search there.
Ooh,
we actually spoke about this.
What?
If you go back up, during the videos.
How about that?
Hi.
We're famous on the internets now. Right, okay.
There is going to be a VST of the Horizon devices in it.
Oh.
That pedal.
The precision drive's going to be inbuilt. That's it. Oh, right. Okay. That's interesting.
It's got to be within the plugin.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, no, that's in.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of annoying that they don't do demos because I don't know if you saw the video that I did with 8 different VST heavy amps.
Yes, I did.
Well, I'm doing another one that's hopefully going to be released at the end of this week, which is, I think it's 14 VSTs. So
wow.
All the ones that people suggested, can you try this, can you try that, I've thrown them all in as well. And I went to the studio last week and I've reamped through our 6505 Plus with the 2 notes captor, and also used the 2 notes lead as well, the lead pedal. Now, here's something that's interesting. I didn't think the tone from the lead when I reamped it was particularly lively, but what I did then is I've got this Mesa 5050 power amp with 6L6s in. I ran the lead. I've ran the lead through that, and then got that through the captor, and that sounded incredible.
Right.
So that's now the main guitar tone for my new version of the theme for the channel. It was that good. I was like, sold.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, because the lead, it's a tube preamp, and then I ran it through a tube power amp, and it livened the sound up and gave it that chug and that thump. And yeah, so I'm going to be throwing that in. So, but I'm also going to do a video comparing the lead, going through all the different power sections I've got. To try.
See, now that's got to be interesting.
Yeah. Then I also used. Well, yeah, I just did a plain old shootout of the front ends of all the amps we've got, and I've got to say the PV Windsor did okay.
You know what? I like the Windsor. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought the Windsor was good.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool.
I think spending some time dialing in as well. I've got a Marshall TSL 100 in the studio at the moment, and I got a half decent sound out of that as well. If I remember rightly, I used the lead channel on it, but with the gain on like 1 and 1.5, and it gave me a real heavy rhythm sound.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's getting thrown in there. I also, while I was on a roll, I kept reamping, and one idea I came up with was using the 6505. I think it was that. Or it might have been, I can't remember what amp it was now, but it was stone cold when I put it down. So I got all the settings right, turned it on and hit reamp, go, when it was cold. And then I left it on for an hour so it was red hot and then reamped again. So I'm going to do a video saying, does it actually sound any different being cold to being hot?
No, that's interesting. I mean, I don't want spoiler for that, but I think that's quite interesting.
Honestly, I don't know. I did it. I got the audio. I could hear it, but I was so close to it at the time that I couldn't have told you. So now with a bit of distance from it, if I put them back to back, we might hear a difference. We might not, and we'll find out.
Well, yeah, no, I think that's got to be an interesting thing because, you know, it's one of those age-old things, you know, you always leave tubes to warm up first.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be really cool to see and hear.
Yeah.
Or not hear, I suppose.
Here's an idea. If this Joey Sturgis Mission Mansour virtual amp sounds good, why don't we reamp that through a real tube power amp and a real cab? See if that sounds like an absolute monster.
Yeah, I think that naturally sounds huge.
Through a Mesa power amp and a Zilla cab. If that doesn't sound incredible, I don't know what will.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. Right. Let's talk about something that's a little less happy news. That since the last time we spoke, probably the week after we did the last HopCast, Pantera drummer Vinnie Paul has passed away. And
yeah, real shame.
Yeah, what an absolute hero of a drummer he was.
One of the best drum sounds of like 90s metal.
Yeah. A lot of engineers at the time were going, oh, his sounds must be triggered or something, but they weren't. His drums genuinely sounded like that.
Yeah, it was just a big sounds for like a guy who hit big.
Yeah.
You know?
He also hit big drums. Like, his kick drums were 22 by God knows what. They were massive cannons. His Vinnie Paul signature snare was a 14 by 8. It was huge.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he got his sounds by being a big man on big drums. And, oh my word, what a groove that guy had. And, yeah, apparently... go on.
Best Pantera album. Let's throw in.
Oh, Vulgar Display of Power. For me, no two ways about it. That was the one where I sat up and noticed.
Nah, fair play. No, it's a great one to go with. For the sake of argument, I'd probably go The Great Southern Trendkill.
Okay.
Just because I can.
Right. I think most people would probably either say Cowboys from Hell or Vulgar Display of Power. And I thought Cowboys from Hell was great. The first...
I mean, they're still great albums.
Yeah.
You know, it's still picking, like, from some of the best metal albums of that time. It was just for the sake of it.
Yeah. Well,
and probably I'm a big fan of the tuning on that album because, like, the sixth style double drop thing that I used to do. Joe, for people, my Les Paul has a 68 gauge in G sharp, and I don't have any standards. I just go AED, GBE from there, but I have that big low end, so I have like an octave, and it's from that album, Great Southern Trendkill.
Right.
Came from that shit.
It does make you wonder how I managed that on Dean guitars that have a scale length of about 19 inches. But
well, it was on Washburn.
All right.
I don't think he actually really played Dean. I think it was mainly on Washburn, and he was doing the Dean stuff at the end.
Right.
But yeah, still ridiculous.
Yeah.
How you got a Floyd Rose to hold tension on that, I'd never know.
No.
But yeah, real shame. Amazing drummer. Yeah, definitely gotta be missed.
Apparently, he lived life to the full, right to the end, and that may, in some way, be what brought about an early end for Vinnie Paul, the man who never slept. And apparently, he always looked after everybody, but just apparently he died of a major heart attack during his sleep. And I mean, that for a man who lived his life very much to the full, I suppose that's almost almost to be expected.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he had one of the biggest and nicest hearts, like, in that metal scene. You see all the tweets coming out, Corey Taylor, Chad from Mudvayne, hell yeah, who was in a band with him. And they all just go, he was just the nicest guy you could ever ask for.
Well, apparently, he used to do things like he would cook for everybody, but then before that, when he was younger, their mum used to do that for everybody, so he took that as a role model thing. So it was just one of those things brought up right.
Am I remembering it wrong, or was it a joke? But did Vinnie Paul have a cookbook at one point?
Probably. I mean, I really... let's have a look. Cookbook. Yeah. Let's have a look. Vinnie Paul's long-awaited cookbook. This was a 2015 article saying it would be released that year. Whether it was or not, I'm not sure, but... Yeah.
I'm sure. I remembered an article about drumming cooking, but as soon as you mentioned it, I was like...
Drumming up an appetite with Vinnie Paul. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah. So, yeah, apparently he either was going to or did release a cookbook, but yeah, there you go. What a guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, yeah. Now, is there a positive note we can leave this one on? Because that...
yeah. I'm going to bring it back to Misha Mansour just because I follow him on Twitter and everything.
Okay.
Horizon Devices, the Apex preamp.
Oh, the Apex, yeah. Yeah, this really interested me. Not only did it sound really impressive, but they took the back off one of these things.
I was gonna say, have you seen how much is going on in there?
It's ridiculous.
It is.
The amount of...
It's just amazing.
Yeah. See if I can find a picture of it.
I'm trying to remember the breakdown of it. I'm sure it was like 187 resistors or something stupid.
Yeah.
It's just
the only thing that worries me about that is if it's such a complicated circuit and they're managing to sell it at $300, how are they doing that? And how long is it going to be before a few of them get sent back? Hopefully it's just paranoia.
Well, this was meant to be a positive, Adam. This was meant to be a positive video.
Oh, absolutely. That's just me. That's just me going, But then, if you think about another good example being Dark Glass. Dark Glass's stuff looks like this inside, and sounds incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I've not cracked open my B7K or anything, but yeah, I've got the breakdown of what's in this Apex. So we got 167 resistors, 103 capacitors, 21 IC, 23 diodes, and 21 transistors.
Yeah,
this is a lot.
Look at that.
There's a lot.
The engineering is spot on as well. Look, can you see on this diagram I've got here? The two buttons, the two pedals, are not connected to the main board, which means you can stamp on them all day long and it won't just snap. That's just clever. That's just good thinking. Because if you look,
this is so well designed.
Yeah.
Like, if you had the space of an amp to come out with all this in your preamp stage, fair enough. But they've compressed it down to this pedal. It's nothing short of technically amazing.
Yeah. Interestingly, it looks like they had a very last-minute change of heart on something. Because can you see a couple of little yellow wires here?
Yeah, the yellow wires have just
they're soldered on.
Connected to.
Yeah, they're shorting something. Yeah. That's what you'll see inside like modified PlayStations and that kind of thing, where they've changed.
You'll see it in old amps as well, where they've kind of gone, that don't work. Anything that was like handmade, or hand soldered, you'll see all this. Oh well, let's just move that off.
they've just decided at the very last minute to do one little revision, but they've gone through with it. And that's interesting. Rather than go, sod it, it's fine. They've gone, you know what, even if we have to do it to every single one.
Commit to it.
Yeah, good on them. That's really interesting.
Yeah,
like, yeah, if you look in the inside of a B7K or something like that, it's a black circuit board rather than a red, but it looks like this, where everything's perfectly ordered and perfectly in lines. Yeah, there's a certain beauty to a circuit like that.
Absolutely.
If I remember,
what's the price mark for this now?
$300.
So it's straight for $299.
$299 USD. And yeah, if it's as good as it sounds in the demos, that's not bad going at all. I mean, the fact that they've managed to get a sound like that without any valves, that's fascinating. And if that's the future of tone, it's getting a sound like that without valves and without having a computing unit, because as much as there are little chips in there, that's just little op amps and that kind of thing. That's not digital. That's not DSP. Yeah,
we're not talking Line 6 style, Joe, insane or anything like that. It's nothing like that. It's hardware doing it at the end of the day. It's not some preset that's going on or anything like that. I think this is great. I don't see this being the end of tubes anytime soon. But
no.
Yeah,
absolutely crazy. It will be another 40 years until tubes are gone with the generation that prizes them. Let's be honest.
But, I
mean, I don't know many Axe-Fx and Kemper users over the age of 35 unless they're a big touring artist.
Yeah. But
that's changing. Not because the older guys are changing their mind, but because the younger guys are getting older.
Yeah.
The guys who have already accepted it are going to shift up an age bracket every time with the relentless march of time. And
again, keeping it happy.
Yeah. Well, I think it's as a positive spin on that. It means that the future is limitless, and that as we become the elders and the peers of our generation, a lot of the stigma of you must do this, you must do that will have gone.
Yeah, and I think it's got to become that hey, if it sounds cool.
Exactly. It opens the floor up to much more creative ideas. Like, apparently the gate in here is so good because it's a 3-stage gate that goes before the gain, after the gain, and somewhere else as well. Not that it's triple gate, but the design is such that it makes it super clean and somehow still responsive to picking.
Yeah. And like, how are they doing this price? I mean, I know if you get resistors in bulk, it knocks the price down, but still, this is...
Well, do you know the forces behind Horizon devices?
It's MXR.
Yes. Yeah, so I think that's how they're doing it, because MXR, there's buying in bulk and then there's buying in MXR Dunlop bulk. There's, buying, let's hire a factory for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Having their resources. And, MXR were pretty ahead of the game, Joe. Some of their smart gates was one of the gates to go to for ages, I would say.
Yeah, a lot of people still use it. I had one for a while. It did something I didn't like to the tone, but being a studio guy, I only moved it on because that was, I'm a studio guy. If I was doing more live stuff, I would have kept it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The first video I saw of the MXR stuff, it was Zoltan for 500 Death Punch.
Right.
And he was using what was it? It was a Diamond's amp heads. Diamondback amp heads. I can't remember.
Oh yeah.
This is going back, 10 years maybe.
Right.
And you're playing. It sounded pretty cool. It was like, but check out with this gate on.
Oh.
And it was the tightest thing, just choked, just completely gone. It was like, wow. It's like, and there's no dial or anything, is there, on the smart gate? Is there?
There is on the MXR Smart Gate, but it's just a threshold, and that's it.
Yeah, it was just like boom, just hit this. That's it. It does it, and you're like, that's crazy. That's so cool.
Yeah. I think part of it
yeah.
is that over the last few years or so, a lot of guitar guys have finally got the hint about how to set up a pedal board properly. Don't use a daisy chain, use isolated power, all that kind of stuff. That pedal show did a video, I think it was last week or the week before, where they set a board up with daisy chain power. It sounded like a snowstorm in a feedback loop.
What?
And then they replaced it all with isolated power without changing out any pedals. And it was quiet. But even so, if you've got a high gain setup, you're probably going to need a noise gate somewhere.
Yeah. It's one of them. It's the same with Joe, like the 14 stuff. Is it the Zool? The Zool is their noise gate. Just
only Zool.
Ridiculous. Yeah. That's one of my favorite things. The Facebook group 14 Army. Just look at there is only Zool, and it's just pictures of the pedal and stuff. It's just brilliant.
Yeah. If I can justify the purchase, I might get a Zool pedal, but most of the studio tones
they're hard
I get
to get now. They're getting hard to get every single time. They're selling out.
Oh, almost as hard to get as the Meshuggah 14 amp. Did you hear about the logo change?
Yes.
That's something that's worth talking about.
Not happy.
No.
Yeah. So they did. For people that don't know, they had the Marshall kind of style text saying Meshuggah. And that was for the first batch of the amps. That still has it on.
Yes. And
now
it has this, which is Meshuggah's own logo, which is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of a cheeky nod towards Marshall, and instead of them going, cool, they like Marshall, they cease and desist letter. Come on, guys.
Well, that was the last batch of these amps. No, there's gotta be no more Meshuggah amps after this.
Is that because of stock of components, or?
No, this is just something Fortin does. They just keep it really limited stock. Joe, like the 33 pedal.
Yeah.
That's gone now. That's just not a thing. It was such a good sounding pedal. I couldn't personally justify the price, but it was so good.
Well, yeah.
So
$3,333 $33.
It's Meshuggah.
Yeah.
It's the only number it can be. Or 33 cents.
The real interesting thing to me is it's a Marshall Plexi, but with some mods.
Yeah.
And lots of good mods, like being able to bias the amp without having to open the flipping thing.
Yep. I'd love to try one of these. I'd absolutely love to try one, but I know it's gotta be hard as anything to do.
I wish more amps had things like auto biasing, or not auto biasing, but easy to access.
Yeah.
Because engineers go on about like, oh, you should bias your amp, bias your amp, bias your amp. Yeah, cool. But if I get new tubes, and there is literally no way to do that except to desolder resistors and put new resistors in, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. And I don't really have the money to send that to an engineer every time.
Exactly. And, there's so limited resources. If you were to do it yourself, how do you even, know? It's like, yeah, it should be this, but if it isn't, I'm screwed.
Yeah. That's the thing.
At least with Fortin, in his old amps, what he would do on the back is when you're taking it apart, it'd have a little thing. If you're putting 6L6, it's this. If you're putting this in, it's this. Yeah. Kind of thing.
Which is great, because then, with a set like this, you don't even have to open the amp up. You just put your multimeter into these little red and black contacts, and then you just turn the bias knob until it's the number you've been told it should be, and that's it. You go, and it sounds good.
Right. That's what I want. I just want it to, cool, this is what I need.
Yeah.
Sweet.
That's exactly what you want, isn't it? It's got send and return effects loop on the back, which I don't think the original Marshalls ever had. So effects loop does 4 ohm, 8 ohm, 16 ohm. And must sound like a monster. It's got a master volume control, but it says pull gain. So I would imagine you pull that out and it breathes fire at you. Yeah, it's got 2 gain channels. You ever seen the old Marshall Plexis that have like they've got 4 jacks on the front?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you plug into one, and if you're an absolute maniac, you get a little short patch cable to go from the same input that you plugged into to the other channel, so you get both at the same time.
Oh, okay. Right. See, that's not... maybe I just had a dumb one, because I used to look at that and go, why would I do this?
Yeah, so on the old Marshalls...
Why would I use any of these?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why they would have 4 jacks on originally. It was probably because you'd be using them as a PA system way back. But you had two low gain inputs and 2 high gain inputs. But I think it was guys like Eddie Van Halen worked out, if you plug into one of them and then jack the others together, it creates a loop so that you're running both channels. So you get all the gain. Yeah, absolute monster of a tone you can get out of them. And yeah, it's very vintage. Very vintage. Yeah. Think like high gain AC/DC, so like Airborne or that kind of thing. That's that tone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then I suppose if you turn the gain up to 900 and turn the mids down a bit, it turns into Meshuggah.
Yeah,
if that works for them.
If you buy that and then put the 33 in front of it as well.
Yes.
Yeah. And play Lundgren pickups on an Ibanez. Yeah, it's probably got to be Meshuggah.
The thing really I find interesting about this amp is it's only a 50-watt amp.
Yeah.
They
don't need to be anymore.
No, I suppose they figured that at a reasonable volume level, they get the definition they want. They don't need any more power. Because then they'd have to have more volume, and then where's it going? Load boxes?
Exactly.
Because that's the thing.
It's just unnecessary. Why not just get this working hard than having a 100-watt amp that's half-assing it?
And it's interesting to me that they got this amp made at all other than for studio use, because apparently just before the latest tour they were asked to make these amps, and they've been using Axe FXs forever. So
yeah, they used them for a long time.
They've been quite happy not having amp volume on stage. So
I think this falls down to a purely tone thing. Like we saw bits of this. I don't think it was labeled as such, but during the recording of the Violent Sleep of Reason, the last album, it was used on. And that whole album was all about using amps that suited per riff, kind of style. And it was like, well, this, like, what song is it? I can't remember. But one of them just starts off so muddy and so dark. Yeah. It was like,
yeah, I know exactly which one. I was listening to the album just last week, and it's just it's doom. It's proper doom metal.
And then it kicks into the real, like, the main amps that they use, and you go, oh, okay. It's purely like a texture thing for using all these different amps. I mean, you must have seen the picture of Frederick Fondor's setup now.
I don't think I have.
Oh, you need to look at it. He's got a patch base set up that's like a hard switch to switch between.
Oh, in his studio, amps. You mean? Yes.
Yeah, his studio setup. The 33 amps that he can switch between for fun. And it's like, it's just mental. It's absolutely ridiculous. And why not have your own amp in there while you're at it?
It's called Special Defects.
Yeah, that's his solo project.
Right.
That he's apparently working on again. That's why he's not touring with Meshuggah at the moment.
Right.
And they have Per Nilsson.
Wants to sit at home and play all his amps.
Pretty much. That's he'll come back to Meshuggah when he wants to. That's literally all they've said. And even Per said, I've not replaced it. I'm just keeping his seat warm.
Yeah.
Which is, hey, awesome. Completely awesome. Why not? And Per's a fantastic player.
He is indeed. I know you're a big fan of Per Nilsson.
Yeah, you just watch him. I love watching it on his Instagram. He posts, oh, this is my improv on Bleed in Baltimore. and this is my improv from Bleed in this town and this time.
Yeah.
And it's like, what?
Look at that monster. That's just crazy talk.
It's just beautiful. It's absolutely fantastic. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just.
Oh, the one that's just gone behind Chris's head there is, let's see if I can move it, is the Meshuggah one.
Yeah.
It's hard to see, but yeah, where it says Marshall, Meshuggah. That's the thing that was the lawsuit was all about.
Yeah.
But there's all these amps, and then in the middle, I can see things like, there's a few patch bays. There's a company that is it Ampete? Ampete make these amp switching, remote controlled wizardry things.
Yeah, so that whole amp switching thing is so you can switch between all 33 amps at a touch of a button that will go to set cabs.
At the touch of a button, yeah. It's all like high power switching.
Like if you want, I don't know how many cabs he has, but you're trying to think of the variations of tones he could have.
Yeah.
With just that, it's just.
And all that gear, and I can see a rack-mounted pod.
Yeah, that's one of the best things. It's not even like a newer pod; it's an old pod.
I can see some classic stuff. Like on the left here, I can see Mesa Studio preamps. Yeah. I can see what I think is Randall's modular stuff, but as rack mount, I think it's Randall. Do you ever see the Randall modular amps?
I remember reading about them because I was really intrigued by it at one point. I was like,
yeah, I almost got one. I'm glad I didn't. But yeah, they either had 2 or 4 slots in the amp for preamp cards that could either have or not have tubes on, depending on.
The RM100.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, so it had a 100-watt output stage in the amp. I think it was a solid state output stage. That was one of the things that put me off. But
hey,
yeah,
this is Randall do the whole hybrid amp thing quite well if you're into Randall, obviously.
Yeah.
The Valve pre with the solid state power side.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting, but yeah, you know what? I might actually have another look at these one day. If I can find one, I might have a look, but it might be like rare as anything to find these.
Oh, I remember them going in Dolphin Music in Huddersfield, and they couldn't give them away. But yeah, it's funny what you find that works for you. The same shop, there was a Korg bass pedal board that I got that was massive. It was like 2 feet wide, if not bigger. The big multi-effects board. And I sold it, and I really regret selling it. And I've not been able to find one for years. There was supposed to be something like 500 quid new, and I got it from Dolphin Music for 150 because, again, they couldn't give it away. It was bizarre. And I'm just panning around this photo, and the amps just keep going. So many Mesa Boogies, and in fact, I can see 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Mesa Boogies in this shot alone, and 2 Mesa preamps. Oh no, 8 at least that I can make out, because I know that's a dual rectifier in the corner. 9, because that's another dual rec.
There'll be different series. Those
yeah, there'll be revision Fs and all sorts of stuff. Yeah. I mean, if I could find one now for a reasonable price, I'm considering getting a Mesa single rectifier. If I can find one.
See, this is something I've been considering. I might just build one.
What?
I might figure out how to just build a rectifier. You can get the schematics online. So I might just do it.
It'd be a lot of work to get it to sound right. But if you wanted to, hell. Just be careful of the
like
voltages.
You said, that rare to find is like, just build it.
Yeah, like it's something that really interests me with, especially dual rectifiers, the way they used to be made, is they were made in such a way that it was almost impossible to replicate. Yeah. The way they made the old rectifiers, they used PCB boards, but they'd use 2 back to back with some of the wire traces going parallel on either side of the board.
Across.
Yeah, so it would affect the tone, and they did it on purpose. And you're looking at it going, "What sort of sane man would do this?" And they're looking at you going,
I love how if you look inside a JCM 800 and a Mesa Boogie, you just like, this is just the totally different laws of physics
Yeah,
here.
chalk and
Like
cheese.
JCM is just a point to point, super simple. Yeah, that is an amp. That is sound.
Mm.
The Mesa Boogie, it kind of looks like they did it piece by piece and went, oh shit, we need to fix this. All right, well, we'll build this and oh, we need to do this. Oh, we'll put that on another layer. It's like, it's not a cake. What are you making here?
Yeah. Something that's always fascinated me is that I think still that like the Axe Effects and the Kempers can reproduce a JCM 800 or even a 5150, which is based on a Marshall amp, very well. I've still not heard a really convincing dual rectifier model.
No.
Because they're so weird and hard to model because they're not made like normal amps. They're not made for normal people.
No, it's not. It absolutely is that case. It's not. Okay, well, this is the path of that schematic. That makes sense. Okay, well, this is what it'll do.
Yeah.
A Mesa, because of the nature of it, when you turn a knob, it's not necessarily doing what it should be doing.
Yeah.
It's doing it, but it's doing something else at the same time. And you're kind of like, what is this? And then, you have the whole orange, red, and
yeah.
That it just becomes a minefield. You'd have to make about 4 amps to make a dual rectifier, and even like, oh, well, I need this sound with this combination, right? I'm plugging into that one, and you'd have to jump between them just to kind of get the full package. You need about 3 or 4 amps.
Yeah, and that's for the studio, I think that's the one thing I'm missing now is a rectifier sound, and I don't want a modern rectifier either, because to me they sound fizzy and boxy. You know, the reborn ones.
I remember your dad's rectifier we borrowed.
That was really good.
Yeah, because we put it on my like Dillinger escape plan style stuff. I was just like, this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect for this stuff.
That was the mini rectifier as well, the 25 watt version.
Yeah, and it's still it still sounded good, but you probably need about 4 or 5 to get.
That's recently I heard a demo on YouTube of a guy demoing a single rectifier, which is basically just a 50 watt dual rec.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a weird name because it's still got 2 rectifiers in it. Yeah, I think they were just trying to, because they did the triple, and then I think they did the single as well, because the dual was 100 watt, the triple's 150 watt. So I think they called it the single so that people would get, oh, it's a 50 watt. It's actually still a dual rec, but it's a 50 watt dual rec. And there was a guy, it wasn't even an English demo, and he started playing double tracked with a boost in front of it, and I just went, that is my sound. That is the sound I hear in my head. I want this. And
I'm still looking for that sound.
See if I can find it. Oh, single rectifier demo. Because it wasn't a Rectoverb or anything. It was this guy, I think. Guy Capuano. Yeah, and so it was his own kind of unique material, his own unique track. Was it this guy? No, it can't have been this guy. It was pretty high up on the list. That one. This one. Bruno Anana.
Oh, yeah.
And let's just make sure. Come on. SonarWorks can be a bit of a pain sometimes just because I've been using Reaper, and Reaper takes over the audio.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So let's just see if I get any sound out at all. Because I'm pushing sound through the mixing desk from this. It's just whether it comes through or not. Hello? Well, this will probably be the last thing before the end of the day.
Yeah.
Hello? Come on, an error occurred. Of course it did. There's nothing else using the sound card. Behave yourself. what if I quit and just use a different volume mixer? Hello? Senor?
No.
Housekeeping? I know. Just do that and see if that does it. Don't need SonarWorks for this. Just take the volume down.
Nope.
Nope.
No, you broke it.
Oh, can't end on a fail. Come on, don't make me end on a fail. I know. Unplug. Plug back in.
Can I sign out of the video? You just carry on with this.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Hello? That should be making noises now. Oh. There we go. So, where's the... Yeah, there. This guy... Listen to this. Oh, you can't hear it?
I can hear a little bit.
But yeah, play this guy's video back. He's using a Black Star boost.
Ooh.
But it's just that soft, squishy 3D metal sound that's really hard to get otherwise. And you can hear that he's picking the life out of it, and it's still just huge. But it's just that tone that only a dual rectifier can do, and even virtual ones just don't get it.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes.
Yeah.
That is the end of our technical issues, and I think it's time that we bid everybody adieu, because there's lots more editing that I have to do this evening. I'm going to try and get several of these videos filmed and out tonight, and it's already 10 to 10.
Yeah.
Got a video coming next week about the Roland Blues Cube, the tone capsules, which are actually really interesting. You know, we've had this Blues Cube in the studio for a few months.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've sent that back now, and the video went out yesterday for the Blues Cube, which sounds like a Blues Deluxe. But these tone capsules make it sound like completely different amps. And there's a couple of them that really made it kind of scream.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And they made the power button light up different colours, so that was cool.
Oh, yeah. Well, why not? Give it a try.
Absolutely. And yeah, so when that comes out next week, that'll be cool. So then I've got these comparison videos to crank out where I've got all the audio now. So I've just got to literally film myself speaking and going, here's what we're going to do, here's what we're doing, edit, thanks, bye. Times 6, I think.
6.
Something like that, because there's one about hot and cold tubes, there's one about comparing real amps, there's one about all the VSTs, there's one about trying to blind shoot out a couple of VSTs against the real amps. That's 4. There was a couple more in there and I can't remember. Oh, one about power amps. So that's 5 I can think of. Might have been 5. But still.
You'll find one.
Yeah, maybe. But that's an interesting little series. At some point soon, I'm going to try and do one that is the same amp but with different virtual cabs.
Okay.
Because I've done the same cab. I've used 2 Notes Wall of Sound with our cabs. And just on all the different heads. So if I do it the other way around now and stick with a head and change out the cabs, we'll see how that goes.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
So I want to try and be a bit more thorough than... Because the old video series that we did with Celestian comparing all the speakers, most of the feedback we get now is, it's only doing one sound, it doesn't do what I want it to do. And it's like, well, when we did it, it was just kind of a one-off thing.
That's what we wanted to. That's the sound we were going to use, so we made it useful to us.
But it's become become so successful that I'm starting to see that we really should revisit that and make it more comprehensive. It's like do a Mark II version.
Yeah.
Not to invalidate the original, but just to say, you know what? It's been so successful. Let's make it the one on YouTube that is.
To expand.
Yeah.
To expand it.
Absolutely. We'll make it the definitive one. The definitive comparison of speakers in all sorts of different styles where someone's going to have to come along and knock it off the perch. That's the aim.
Yeah.
Because where it went from some complete unknown with 200 subscribers, it's like we've got a bit of a reputation now. And so, yeah, we may as well really, for that particular series, make it so we have to get knocked off the top spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, got videos coming. Got an email today from Adam Audio. And did I tell you that we're getting subs for the studio?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so I decided that I wanted to get a subwoofer for the studio, so I contacted Adam Audio, whose speakers we use already, the A7X. And I had this crazy idea to use a stereo pair of subwoofers. So we're gonna be working with Adam Audio, and we're gonna be doing videos. Firstly, about why would you even have a subwoofer in a studio? You know, it's not just about having more bass; it's about having more accurate low end, so that your near fields don't have to work as hard. Then I want to do a video about. No, there's a long-standing myth about you can't hear where low frequency's coming from, and it's not true. Especially because it makes other things in the room vibrate and make harmonics at higher frequencies that you can hear where it's coming from.
Yeah.
So from there, once I kind of prove that, then if we put stereo subwoofers in left and right, there'll be a reason for its existence.
Sure.
And also, you tend to use stereo subs in mastering because then you can pick out if there's anything really going wrong in the sub region that's affecting the stereo space.
Right.
I mean, if you can't hear it, how are you going to know?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, the other things I figured rather than spending a huge chunk of money on one big sub, I'd get two slightly smaller ones. And they're still both 8-inch subs. They'll get down to like 32 hertz. But, yeah, not at breakneck volume though, which is another reason why I wanted to get two, because then they're not straining as hard.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Because, yeah, that's something I was talking to the guys at Adam Audio, and they recommended that I should get one of the sub-10s, which are significantly more expensive, but they don't bottom out at the kind of level you'd run A7Xs at.
Right.
But then I thought, I really want to do the stereo thing, and that takes some of the load off anyway, so, there you go. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And at some point in the next few weeks, I'm going to try and completely rearrange the studio. So that's going to be a big undertaking. I might talk to you about that off camera, because I'm definitely getting Liam involved. I'll see if I can get you involved as well, because what I want to do is have the BBC console in the middle.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Which means I'm going to have a lot less cable runs, and it means that the speakers can sit on the top of the console and things like that, where it's all going to be much more efficient. And I've had one of the BBC rack units rewired by the guys at Rain Custom Audio, so that's all working perfectly now. So that's going to go back in the setup. I got an old ADAT machine and a headphone amp that's got individual inputs, so now I can give everybody their own separate headphone mix. So that needs to be installed somewhere. There's just so much that we've got in the calendar that we need to, talk about when we can do stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, on that positive note, thank you everybody for watching. We're going to have this up on iTunes within the next day or two. So I'm going to have to render this out. But that's not too much of a bother, because, hey, we are audio tech guys at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, absolutely. So, thanks for joining me, Chris. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Always.
And we'll see you
Soon.
in the next video. Goodbye.